Welcome to Work in Progress, Conversations with Creators. I'm your host, Logan Royce Beitman. Today on the program is Jon Krieger of Blackbraid, an Indigenous black metal band who's coming to Albuquerque. We had a great conversation about music, and I hope that you enjoy.
If you enjoy our podcast, please like and subscribe and consider becoming a digital subscriber to the Albuquerque Journal to help us bring you more content like this. You can find this episode and all of our podcasts on the Albuquerque Journal website, abqjournal.com, as well as YouTube, iTunes, and Spotify. See the show notes for a discount code on a digital subscription. Thank you for supporting the Albuquerque Journal, New Mexico's leading news.
Hi, Jon. Thank you for joining me today.
Oh, thanks for having me. It's exciting.
Yeah, great. Well, I'm really excited to have you. And I think let's just start in with talking about your latest album, Blackbraid 3. Which starts out, the track is called Dusk Eulogy. It's acoustic guitar. So I think if someone's coming in fresh and don't know anything about you and they put this on, they're like, oh, it's some nice folk music, and then it like kind of ramps up with the next song, right? But yeah, I mean, I guess maybe talk about that decision to start with acoustic guitar on the album.
Yeah, I mean, acoustic, I feel like always has its place in black metal. I'm a huge fan of acoustic, and I think it kind of, it speaks to a lot of the softer emotions that are in music, in ways that the full band just can't. And I've always felt that it definitely like resonates. Like the acoustic stuff is just as much as part of a Blackbraid record to me as, the metal. And I guess I kind of just like with starting with an acoustic, it's kind of just like I see it almost as like laying the foundation for it. Like, it's going to be a black metal record, but right out of the gate, it's already not what you're expecting from a black metal record, I guess.
Yeah. No, I think it's fantastic. And then the way it transitions into War Drums at Dawn on the Day of My Death, and which is very powerful. And then that kind of like it's sort of seamless then into the next track, right? The Dying Breath of a Sacred Stag.
You still there?
And then you kind of end with a little more acoustic at the end. But so it really takes us on a journey. Yeah, just sort of talk about that kind of the emotional journey that you go on, like with having those transitions between. Because I feel like like the third track, you really get into like the electric guitar, all this kind of, which is really ecstatic, So in the midst of all, because it is like a lot of tragic kind of dark emotions, but then there's this beauty layered on top as well.
Yeah, I mean, that's definitely what I was going for, I guess, because to me, like, death is a huge theme on the record, and death and rebirth and sadness and sorrow, and it's all like very interconnected in my mind. Like a lot of the beauty in this world is kind of a like a direct product of death. Like if it's very hard to put into words, but it's kind of like a recurring cycle in my mind. Like if you look at that song that we were just talking about, track 3, The Dying Breath of a Sacred Stag, it's talking about the stag dying and like returning to the earth, and it's almost more cyclical than an end to me. Like it doesn't feel like death is the end. It's kind of the start of a journey, or in this case the start of the rest of the album, I would say. But the beauty has always kind of been inseparable from the sadness in nature to me, so I guess I kind of try to convey that a bit with the music too.
Yeah. Do you spend a lot of time in nature?
Yeah, I'd say so. I mean, I kind of live in the middle of nowhere. Like there's nothing going on in the Adirondacks where I'm from. So, if you want to do something, there's not much to do besides like camping and hiking and whatnot. fishing is huge here. So, yeah, when I'm home, I try to get out as much as possible.
Yeah. And that inspires the music?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
Tell me about the sacred stag. Is that like a particular myth, or a story that, you're referring to?
No, um, it's more personal stuff, I would say. Uh,
Mhm.
just things I've experienced and witnessed myself more than anything is what I
Oh, okay.
draw. And I'd say for the whole record in general is like very personal to me this time. I didn't really include any pre-existing myths. It's definitely like its own thing, its own creation, I would say.
Yeah, a kind of personal mythology, maybe.
Yeah, yeah, that's a great way to put it. Yes.
Yeah. And I don't know how much if you wanna talk about that or, because I was told kinda like that you don't really wanna discuss anything personal, you wanna focus on the music, but I think, I mean, it seems related, you know?
Yeah.
Um,
Um, I mean, there's not much to say. I can't really like. It's very hard to put into words. Uh, where my head is at with a lot of these things, which is why it's more hard to talk about. But like I always tell people, like when people ask me what the songs are about, I'm like, you should just listen to the song or read
right.
the lyrics. Like, I've never been great with words, and it's just more easy for me to convey, what I'm thinking of, I guess, through the music than anything.
Yeah, and I think, I mean, with your style of, singing, it's not always easy maybe for, first time listeners to understand every word. I think, I get bits of, um, but what I get is the kind of the power, the force, the feeling, um, that comes through. Um, and I think in some ways that's maybe more important that kind of like, I feel like I understand just by seeing the titles and hearing the music, like I kind of feel what you're, communicating, that and I think this is like a debate that musicians have sometimes, like, should we make sure that every single, syllable is clearly articulated, or is it more about the kind of the power and the emotion that we're putting in and people can kind of get it whether they get every single word or not, you know?
Yeah, definitely. I always kind of err on the side of, I just would rather have it be emotional and raw. And uh I'll always like publish my lyrics too. I know some black metal bands don't do that because they want to be
Mhm.
secretive or whatever, but like I'll always have like the lyrics published when we release the album so people can look them up if they want,
Yeah.
see what they're listening to, but and read along or whatever. Like that doesn't bother me, but yeah, in the moment I would say it's more about the emotion than the delivery maybe. Yeah.
Yeah.
When it comes to lyrics anyway.
Right, right. How did you first get into black metal or maybe metal generally?
I mean, I've been listening to metal since I was a child, you know. Um I'm like 30, I'm 36 now, so and I'll be 36 in like 3 weeks, so but I think like my first metal I was probably, before I was 10. Like I think I remember like in the 90s having like Metallica and Judas Priest and stuff on the radio here in the US, and that was like probably my first exposure to it with like there's also bigger US bands that were blowing up back then that were huge. Like when I very first started listening to like, like Lamb of God and Slayer and stuff.
Right.
Um Black metal, I think I was a little older, like I it's hard to say how exactly when I was introduced to black metal. But I
Like
remember,
like like, was it friends of yours or family or just kind of like you exploring, like, you go from one band to another and like, "Oh, this is kinda heavier and I'm, into this," or
yeah, I had listened to a tiny bit of like Gorgoroth and Dissection. I was into very early on. You know, probably listening to those bands when I was just a teenager, like, you know, the early half of my teens. And I remember seeing Opeth when I was probably like 15 or 16, which is pretty black metal adjacent.
Yeah.
They were like the first black metal, you know, I mean, a lot of people would hang me for calling them black metal, but they're very close, especially back then, when they were touring off of like Blackwater Park or whatever it was. So I'd say they were like, I had, you know, was listening to a tiny bit of black metal before that, but seeing them live, like they were one of the first bands that really blew me away live. And I must have been maybe 14 or 15 when I first saw them.
Yeah.
And that was like a major stepping stone into it too. Like I remember looking into the rest of their discography after seeing them, and then I started listening to other Swedish bands, you know, like Bat 3, and I remember getting really into Windir right around then. So it's kind of all like my early teens, I would say, was when I really started diving into black metal.
Yeah, and a lot of those bands, you know, like from Sweden and Norway, you know, they're drawing on kinda, you know, ancient mythologies, Norse mythology, Vikings, and all that, right? And, you know, I feel like you're drawing on kind of stuff from your own tradition, right? That's, also kind of very like, is there a parallel you see there, in terms of, like, the themes and the kind of stories and mythologies?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, you know, black metal will always be very rooted in chaos and, you know, paganism and nature. And it, you know, the whole Scandinavian scene where black metal was pretty much invented, like really stemmed out of like hatred for Christianity, for, you know, coming in and pretty much raping their culture and making them throw out, you know, thousands of years of tradition and trying to force them to accept, you know, this crap that the Christians made up for them instead of their own folklore and traditions and stuff. And you know, it's pretty much the exact same thing that happened in America too. When Europeans came to America, they did the same thing and tried to destroy our culture and make us, you know, convert to different religions and whatnot. So uh, it just seems, you know, like kind of natural to extend it. Like it might be, you know, on two different continents, like across the world from each other, but the base emotions and, you know, kind of disdain for the being made to conform and whatnot is you know, especially strong amongst both cultures. So I think it fits perfectly, honestly.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. You're Mohawk, right? Um, is that your
No,
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 sorry.
I took a Mohawk name for Blackbraid because I live in Mohawk territory, and it's for you know, Blackbraid has always been first and foremost like about the nature.
Yeah,
I've lived here my whole life, and if I could say like the Blackbraid is about any one thing, it's mostly, you know, about like the spirit of the Adirondacks. So um again, most black metal people, a lot of black metal musicians have like stage names, you know, like Frost or Necro Butcher, or, you know,
sure.
there's
Yeah.
1,000 of them. Abbott, you know, Samoth, you know, whatever you want to call yourself. Um, but it just didn't seem fitting to like have, you know, call myself Valfar or some other Norse
Yeah.
name like everyone else has, because it's not, you know, it's not ingrained in Blackbraid like it is in those bands. And it almost felt, you know, I could have called myself something like Frost or something as well, but it felt like disingenuous to use English language for my alias, I guess, which was how I arrived at using the Mohawk instead.
Yeah, no, I think that makes sense, and, like, your music, your whole, identity really is so rooted, like you said, in the Adirondacks, you know? Um, and yeah, which is interesting. It is like really a parallel, I think, with the Scandinavian black metal. I think they also have that kind of relationship with their land. Have you met any of those bands, or the ones that you kind of listened to and looked up to? Have you like met at all, like touring or on the road?
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy. We've met so many of them at this point, and it never gets, I never really get used to it. Like, as far as US bands go, I mean, Wolves in the Throne Room and Panopticon are probably the two biggest black metal bands ever to come out of US. That I have, immense respect for both of them. And now, I've been like best friends with both those bands for 2-3 years now. Like, Austin from Panopticon was one of the first to, really get behind Blackbraid and like give me his blessing. And he's one of my best friends now. He's like the sweetest guy in the world. Same thing with Wolves in the Throne Room. Like, I've been listening to those guys for over a decade, and they asked us to come do direct support for them on tour. We toured the whole US and some Canada with them like 2 years ago, which was also really insane. And as far as Europe goes, we played with a bunch of crazy people too. Like, we played with Abbott once or twice. He was like a hero to me. And, and that's always surreal. Trying to think who else. Like, it just, yeah, I mean, I've met so many people at this point that I never in 1,000 years dreamt I would have
Yeah,
I would have
yeah.
been associating with, like, let alone like playing shows with them. But yeah, it never gets old. Like, I always feel like a kid whenever I meet one of these people.
No, that's so cool, I mean, another thing I think that comes through, because like, my mom's gonna listen to this, a bunch of people that don't really listen to any kind of metal or anything, right? And if they, if they just see kind of videos of you, they're like, oh, this is some scary guy screaming at us, right? And then, you talk to you're just like a nice guy, and you're talking about these other, bands that, some of them have quite kind of outrageous stage personas or legends around them. But, I mean, I guess, how much of that stuff is a persona, how much of it is, you're just kind of, nice guys making cool music,
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely some sort of persona behind a lot of it, but it's yeah, I mean, I think sometimes it's easy to forget that we are just normal people at the end of the day. Well, I guess it depends how you want to define normal, because we're all a bunch of crazy fucking weirdos. But there's nothing beyond us being really weird and crazy, writing crazy music. There's not much that differentiates us from the average metal fan, I guess. Like,
yeah.
black metal listeners kind of tend to be the same as the artists in a way. Like, we're all kind of just drawn to similar stuff. So
Right. And although, I mean, there's what's that one band that like one of the band members died and they like cooked and ate his brain? You know who I'm talking about?
Oh, like, are you talking about Mayhem?
Maybe, yeah, I think it might be Mayhem.
Yeah.
So I don't know, some of them might be a little nuts, but I also don't know if that's just like, something they say that they did to make them seem, scarier or something,
Yeah, I mean, like, we played with Mayhem before too in Finland, and they were cool. I've seen them a bunch of times. They're like one of the oldest, most iconic black metal bands still going.
Yeah, how are they like in person, just backstage
I
or
mean,
whatever?
they're exactly what you'd expect, I think. They're a bunch of old rockers that like to drink beer.
Right.
And, I mean, I guess they're crazy, but not any more crazy than like Ozzy or Motorhead or something, like,
Yeah.
it's, yeah, it's just rock and roll at the end of the day, kind of.
Yeah. Were you a fan of Ozzy and Lemmy from Motorhead? Both of them, rest
Yeah.
in peace.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, obviously, I think we're all huge Ozzy fans at this point. I mean, he, he pioneered everything for us metalheads, I would say. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
No, absolutely. Um, And yeah, what are you well, you're touring now, I guess. And yeah, I mean, are you excited to come here to New Mexico? Have you been to New Mexico before?
Yeah, Albuquerque is one of the places we played the most in the U.S. Well, cats.
I know
Crazy.
there's. Oh, is that you have a cat?
Yeah. Well, she's fighting with one of the dogs right now. It seems all right though. I think they figured it out. So.
Yeah, well, I know there's a lot of big metal scene here, a lot of metal fans. So it's not too surprising that you've played here a lot. I think there's definitely a appetite for it.
Yeah, the Navajo Nation has been just insanely welcoming to us. I think we've played Albuquerque 3 or 4 times now. And like earlier this year, we did a one-off over there. Actually, when like a headlining show right after I announced this album, which is still like one of the only U.S. shows we played this year. So, yeah, I mean, with us being like having like an Indigenous centered, black metal thing, like it's just always like Albuquerque has been huge for us. Like we come there and it's mostly Navajo every time, and there's like Pueblo and stuff. Like there's a bunch of different tribes around there, and it all kind of just like it always feels like home.
Yeah.
The crowd, it's like one of the best crowds we'll ever play. It doesn't matter how big the venue is. Like people always go crazy for us in Albuquerque. We love that place.
Great. Yeah. Well, yeah, it's exciting that you're coming here. Let me ask you. We'll just pivot a little bit about songwriting. Like how do you start? Like, do you start with the music? Do you start with the lyrics when you're writing songs?
I don't really have a formula, unfortunately. I wish I did, because I'd probably write a lot more and it would go a lot faster, but it's the mix of everything. I mean, some songs started as just lyrics, some of them started as just guitar, and then some start as like ideas in my brain with no guitar or lyrics, I guess. So
what's one that started just as an idea?
I guess like Tears of the Dawn on this new record is probably the oldest, hardest song I've ever written. Like, some of them I crank out in 30 minutes and some of them take a year. And like Tears of the Dawn was kind of one I was working on for pretty much the whole time I've been doing Blackbraid, like 3 years or so now. It's kind of been around. I started conceptualizing it like when I was doing the first album, and it wasn't ready, so I decided to leave it off and save it for the next one. And then when the second one was ready to come out, it still wasn't ready, so they pushed it off again. And that one has been like definitely the hardest, longest writing process I've had. Like I was working on that song for so long, it seemed like I would never finish it. And now that it's done and people are loving it, it's like one of the most satisfying songs I've put out too. So
yeah, sometimes I don't know, things just have to take the time they take, and it's so weird, because I mean, I'm a writer, and sometimes I can write something really quickly. Sometimes it takes a long time, and I don't know. I can't figure out why. If I could figure it out, then everything would be fast, I guess. But for some reason, just things kind of stick, and it's not the right. I don't know, and then. But it fits beautifully on this album, and it seems like maybe this is the right time for it,
yeah, it fits in there perfectly. I'm very glad I waited on it, because it feels right now. So
yeah. Do you know, like, what was it that was kind of the sticking point, or was there a kind of breakthrough where you're like, oh, this is it, where it kind of became what it is?
Not really. It just kind of like kept going, and I couldn't finish it or find any way to end it, or it just kind of kept going. Like I just kept writing, and I didn't ever know how I was going to end it, and how or if I was ever gonna end it. And then one day it kind of just clicked, and I'm like, I think it's finally done. So
Good. Yeah. What's a song that just kind of seemed to just flow through you very quickly? It just kind of came to you quickly and was easy to write.
Probably like, I think The Spirit Returns, like on the second album, was probably the fastest one I've ever written. Like that one, I just came home from tour one day and like I just had no idea I was gonna write a song, and I sat down and like started playing, and 30 minutes later the entire thing was written and finished. I've never written a song in under half an hour since then. Like that was definitely the fastest, easiest one I've ever done. So
yeah. But a lot, I talk to a lot of, songwriters and creative people, and they say when that happens, it almost feels like it's something else flowing through you. I mean, that's how some people describe it, like that it's sort of like it just, the song dropped out of the sky or something,
Yeah, absolutely. That one definitely feels like that. There's a few that were like that came pretty fast. Not many. Most of the time it takes me fucking months to finish a song. It's like a painstaking process, but anytime it's fast is always a relief too,
Sure. Yeah. Have you been working with the same band the whole time? The drummer and are they or who's touring with you?
Yeah, I mean the live members, we've switched up once or twice since the beginning, but the recording is always the same. It's just me and my producer doing everything. I pretty much write the songs, and me and him do the drums together, and he does most of the drums, and then I record everything else once the drums are ready to go. But live, like I have a bunch of my friends from LA that play with me. Like right now, for the past year or two, we've been using this lineup. I have actually our drummer, still the original drummer we've always used, is Johnny Vallis, who's he's amazing. He's done he does a lot of death metal and grindcore. He's in a death metal band called Blistering Rot right now with my other guitarist, Adrian, who's like a complete shredder. Like he's better than me by far at guitar. So I mean, that's a relief.
You're pretty good, so
yeah. But it's always a relief having him, because like he takes everything I write and just makes it sound that much better. He's fucking amazing. So
yeah.
And then our other guitarist is my buddy Edo, who we've also been playing with since the beginning. He's got a bunch of his own black metal solo projects, and he runs a label called Night of the Pale Moon that does like almost all indigenous black metal at this point. So
yeah.
My bassist is David from Gooch Pilat, his solo project. Like they all got their own solo things going, which is pretty cool. So
yeah. No, I mean it's a great group, all kind of virtuoso musicians,
Yeah.
So that's exciting. For those who don't know, like how would you define, what's the difference between like black metal and death metal?
They say black metal is like more atmospheric, I guess. It can be, there can be many differences. Like some black and death metal sounds exactly the same, and you can barely tell the genres apart. Like they do get very closely intertwined at times, but I think death metal is more focused around technicality and riffs a bit more, where like black metal traditionally is a lot of tremolo picking, and you're still playing just as fast as a death metal band, but I think it's more rhythm based more of the time, and maybe some more chords and a little more like punk influence, maybe. It's hard to tell because there's punk influence in both genres, but I think black metal like comes a bit more from it than death metal.
Yeah, well, that's probably I've asked this question to a bunch of people. That's probably the best answer I've gotten, and it is, at this point, years have gone by and there's cross influence, But yeah, you can still, I think the atmospheric aspect that you may be a little more punk or a little bit more, yeah. So yeah, I think that's useful, you know. Although I don't know how useful these distinctions are. Some people get really hung up on it, really matters to them, like, oh no, we're not death metal, we're black metal, or you know. Um,
Yes.
but what kind of do you listen to all kinds of music? Do you mostly listen to black metal? Like, do you listen to is there some kind of music that you listen to that people might be surprised by? Like, are you like secretly a Swiftie or something? Or
Yeah, I mean, I listen to pretty much everything. I'm not a Swiftie, but I do, you know, I do definitely fuck around with a lot of modern pop from time to time. I like pop and country, and I like everything. I listen to a ton of metal too, but
yeah.
um, yeah, a lot of electronic music as well, like ambient stuff. I'm kind of all over the place, so.
I
Um,
feel like every musician I talk to, no matter what genre they're classified at, like musicians generally listen to good musicians of all genres, you know?
yeah,
And yeah, I'm kind of sometimes I'm surprised by, you know, what people say, but of course, you know, you want to like know what's happening in your genre and keep up with that, but it's kind of like if you like music, you like music, right? I think
yeah,
sometimes like it's like the record labels and stuff that really pigeonhole people.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, I mean, if I guess country's probably the most far removed one. Like, I do listen to a good amount of country still, and a lot of people would probably be surprised at that. But I mean, if you know anything about Blackbraid, you also know that I'm a country boy and I've always lived in the country, so I guess it's not too
Yeah.
surprising. Uh,
Have you ever thought about putting out a country album? You know, I mean,
uh,
like Beyonce did it. You know, Ringo Starr did one recently. You know, that would be interesting. You know, there's a Blackbraid country album.
yeah, I'd probably be pretty bad at it. I think I'll definitely put out like a folk album one day, like an all acoustic
Yeah.
one, maybe. That's probably as close as I'll get. But
Yeah, I was gonna say, you know, like listening to this album, especially with the acoustic elements, I could imagine it like you could do a version of it that's just all acoustic, and you know that would I mean, it would be interesting for me. I don't know if it, you know, your core listeners how they'd feel about it, but you know, I think
yeah,
it would make sense actually.
absolutely. Yeah, I'd love to do that one day. I mean, I have like acoustic renditions of most of my songs at this point, so I think it's probably definitely in the pipeline somewhere down the road. You'll get an acoustic album for Blackbraid, but I don't
That
know
sounds
when.
great. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
It
Well,
hasn't been started
uh,
yet, so.
yeah, 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 yeah. But that's pretty cool. What are you still like? Uh, writing new songs now? Like, are you always writing even when you're on the road and stuff?
I guess I almost never write stuff on the road, but
Yeah,
because I'm just too busy and stressed. You know, it's very being on the road is definitely like taxing. So I find that like I never write on the road, but sometimes I get ideas almost
yeah.
like built up while I'm on the road, and sometimes I kind of have like writing vomit. Like right after I come home, I feel like I can finally like sit down and let my brain breathe again.
I think that
Um,
makes sense because, like, while you're traveling, it's like you're absorbing all this almost too much stimuli or something, and then you kind of sit down, you have space, and you can kind of let whatever you've absorbed come out. Then, right?
yeah, absolutely. Like I think a lot of it definitely comes from the road at times, but I can never write while we're touring either. Like I just my brain doesn't have enough capacity, I guess. I
Yeah,
don't
yeah.
know.
You know, the other thing I was going to say, you seem so confident, you know, and when you're on stage and you know, and um, I mean, you just mentioned kind of like, you know, that touring is tough and all that. You kind of you get. I don't know if you said you get nervous, but do you get nervous at all before you go on stage, or you just kind of go out there and you become this person and
No, I don't really get nervous at all. The only thing that makes me a little nervous is like when we start playing new songs that we've never played. Sometimes I like get in my head about forgetting the lyrics. Like I always think I'm gonna forget lyrics, and I'll really kind of drive the lyrics home like repetitively into my head for like 2 hours before we get on stage. I'm just like reading them back and forth to myself, but um in the end it always works out, I guess. So
Yeah. Well, and if it's a new song that people don't know, then they don't know, you can just make up anything, I guess, if you forget.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
If it's a song from your first album everyone knows, then but yeah, who else is going to know other than you if
Yeah.
But well, this has been really great talking with you, and I know we're all excited about you coming here. So yeah, thanks for speaking with me today.
Awesome. Yeah, thanks for having me. I mean, we love Albuquerque, so very excited to be back there very shortly too. So
yeah, great. Thank you.